welcome to another video here on the Critical Focus channel. First off, a big shout out to all my members who support my work and keeps the paint flowing and the electricity running. Members do get access to the member Discord, will influence the content, the matchups, whatnot. There is a join button below if you feel so inclined. But regardless, I am happy for your support in the form of actually just watching the video, of a like and a comment, and if you haven't already, please do feel free to subscribe as well. And if you are looking to buy Warhammer merch, there is an affiliate link in the video description as well. Let's get on with the video. Alright, part 2 of the Embergard core box rival deck reviews sees me reviewing the whole deck Emberstone Sentinels. Make sure to check out my previous one with the strike deck Blazing Assault as well after watching this one, or before if you prefer. As always, I'll start with searches and phases next, ploys, and then finally upgrades. Let's not waste any time, let's go. First up, Sally Forth is a bit of a weird one in a whole deck, honestly, but it requires you to have a charged fighter on a treasure token in enemy territory after your opponent's action step. Not really reliable without guard tokens or once you commit with 2 fighters, so already from the get-go, the searches here are at a deficit from the strike counterpart. Still not a bad objective, but it does require some combination of luck or setup at least. Stand Firm is another off-timing card, which is also scored after an opponent's action step. If a staggered friendly fighter holds an objective token, obviously delving is an easy way to get stagger on your own fighters, but that also, at least up front, will not make the feature token a treasure token unless previously delved. And taking cards to stagger your own fighters to score a single card, which then increases your opponent's chances to both damage you and shove you off that objective, just feels a bit counterintuitive and pretty strange, and a lot of setup for not an amazingly scoreable objective anyway. Next up is Step by Step, also has the off timing here with being scored after your opponent's action step, with holding a treasure token with a moved fighter, and if you are the underdog you can score it with a charged fighter as well. Still, the off timing here makes this rough even for the underdog. Unassailable needs you to still hold a treasure token after an attack. Don't really fancy objectives that require your opponents to do specific things rather than keeping you at the reins of this setup. That being said, if you are inclined to put most of your fighters on treasure tokens, it's likely to be scored sooner or later. Aggressive Defender, now we're talking. We also get to have some of those no-brainer cards that the aggro deck has. Attack from a treasure token, check. Very good, albeit not very exciting design-wise. Last one is Careful Advance for putting 2 moved fighters in enemy territory, which should really not be much of an issue, especially with, say, the Skaven that have an out-of-sequence move ability that reacts to another fighter moving. And I'm sure more warbands have similar stuff as well. So yeah, overall a lot less auto scores here and some rather odd design choices, to be fair. Still, I much prefer these slightly trickier objectives than 6 absolutely insane searches. End phases then. First here I'm going to clump up 2 objectives here. It's hold 1 or 2 and the hold 3 or 4 for 1 glory each. Very basic and also rather simple for 1 glory, but generally hold warbands do less killing and thus needs more glory in the end phase. But as deck building stands right now, they are probably solid enough to include, but I don't think they will stay solid for very long. Next up is hold 5, also just 1 glory for a specific one, which is just rather odd. We do have a ploy in this deck that switcheroos to different objectives, so all of these cards are fairly scoreable, but that's just 1 ploy. I get that this was the leftover objective here, but maybe they could have just done a fun little twist here with 2 glory for holding number 5 for 2 consecutive rounds or something. Slow Advance is 2 glory for holding treasure tokens in both neutral and enemy territory. I quite like this, and given that we have to put a token in each territory now, it's a lot harder for opponents to kind of deny this one. No auto score, but reasonable for 2 glory unless you're seriously low on fighters, in case you've probably lost anyway, especially with this playstyle. I like that it encourages players to not completely turtle up inside friendly territory. Iron Grasp is super solid for 2 glory for a way easier condition given the and/or condition here. There'll likely be just 1 treasure token in either of these territories, or you may simply flip 1 and move to the remaining one, and you get 2 solid glory for fairly low effort here. Supremacy finally, which is no longer hold 3 treasure tokens, but rather hold 2 or more, of course, with fighters to a total value of 3 bounty. So in most cases, pretty much any 2 4-wound fighters or swarm warbands, pretty much the leader and just any other fighter. Pretty silly easy for 3 whooping glory. So overall, pretty solid end phases here with a lot less easy glory in the search department. So I guess that's the balance they went with here between those 2 decks, which is fine, I guess. I just wish some more skill expression and finesse were present in the conditions of these cards, but it is supposed to be fairly beginner friendly, and they have succeeded at that at least. Ploys then. First up is switch 2 treasure tokens around. It's obviously here to score the numbered hold objectives, which definitely makes hold 5 a lot easier, but this is about the only tech you have to make that happen, so it's fairly slim odds. Still at the moment, with all the 3 numbered cards relevant in Nemesis at the moment, it's a pretty solid inclusion, right? Do note it has to be the treasure token, so not the cover side up. Sidestep, always take it, never don't take pushes regardless of your playstyle. The extra mile bonus push after a move to get onto a feature token, so works on flipped tokens as well, which is handy while going up against the flex deck, which I think will be a pretty popular deck going forward. Solid card for slower hold warbands such as Sepulchral Guard or what have you. Settle in, guard token. Normally I would pass, but vital to ensure those off-timing scoring searches with staying on feature tokens and stuff like that after opponent's activation steps action steps. Healing potion, generally not a great inclusion for hold style, given we more likely will have more fighters with less wounds, so healing fairly one-shottable fighters is generally not the most interesting thing to do, unless you have like this one really important fighter that raises all your other fighters. That could be a decent inclusion for such warbands. Hidden paths is BAM from one edge hex to another. Treasure tokens are not generally in edge hexes, but can get you out of harm's way, and possibly with a sidestep combo here you can get onto that objective token, or treasure token, which might make also your opponent forced to focus both forward and backwards if you bamf deep into enemy territory. Confusion is switch places between 2 adjacent fighters. No enemy fighters or friendly fighters restriction here, just 2 fighters. Good way to get onto a token and will always be a solid card. Hold the line, another decent way to double down on scoring the off-timing searches here, paired with the guard token previously. Could prove vital to get your glory going, given we have a harder time with our searches without such tech. Shoulder throw seems really weird. A card to put in whole deck thematically, but it's a decent way to get onto that objective token, especially with the charged fighter. So we will have to do some attacking with the charged fighter, and throwing the opponent off the treasure token could be a nice way to set up the scoring of that, I guess. Probably have better cards in the future though. By the numbers is draw equal to your treasure tokens held, not crap. Draw is always useful, especially given how vital those drive back / guard token stuff is to get in your hands for improving your searches scoreability. Some decent stuff and tech here for sure, which mostly seems really useful. Upgrades then. First one, the nice overrun, which is okay. I would much rather have dry back immunity, obviously. At least this makes it slightly easier to get back on the treasure token. But still, I'm not amazed. Inviolate is immunity to being flanked or surrounded while holding treasure tokens, so it denies the upgrade from the strike deck, which gives innate flanked on adjacent fighters, which is pretty neat, I guess. I still don't think it's a super strong effect, generally speaking. Something similar to what we've seen before with minus dice from enemy fighters' attacks while holding a treasure token. That would be really nice. Great Speed is a free upgrade for a +1 move. Only really useful for really slow warbands. Sure, move never hurts, but more often than not it's gonna be a redundant card. Nice that it's free, sure, but in my limited experience, glory isn't really an issue in this edition. Really wasn't an issue in the last edition either. Shared reflexes, now this is amazing. Flat +1 defense, wow. Maximum of 2, sure, but still very good. Obviously costs 2 glory though. Brute momentum encourages some offense to gain some defense, which is a nice design in my opinion, with drive back immunity while charged. Agile is a reroll save. I think a defensive reroll is also worth much more now than it was in the previous edition. Duelist is a mirrored card from the aggro deck, and as I've said so many times, pushes are the tits. Well, I don't think I've actually phrased it like that, but yeah, now you know. Great Fort, yes, please. Never a bad thing with extra longevity, especially now that concerning yourself with becoming large isn't a thing anymore. Keen Eye is +1 dice, which is way less useful here than in the strike deck, so it just feels like a rather odd inclusion, honestly, but +1 dice never hurts. And same there with Great Strength. It's good, but I would probably have preferred seeing some tech to kind of stay on the treasure tokens, like -1 damage or -1 dice while on your treasure token or something like that. A bit of counter punch isn't crap, of course. I can understand why they put some counter punch in the deck. Obviously, it's supposed to be a starter introduction to new players, and if both players have access to some muscles, it's going to be more fun for everyone, I guess. So yeah, that's it. I think the ploys and the end phases are where it's at with this deck, and the upgrades and the searches are where you'll maybe do some mixing and matching in Nemesis the most, at least. Still overall a very solid deck, albeit just like the strike one, rather bland, but that's kind of by design, I guess. So let's hope for more flavor in coming decks. Next time I'll go over the flex deck, Pillage and Plunder. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe as well. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye.